The book of Genesis tells us that Abraham married another woman named Keturah after Sarah, his beloved wife, died. Right there in Genesis 25, the story opens a new chapter in Abraham's life. He takes Keturah, and suddenly more names and nations enter the scene. The text lists 6 sons from Keturah: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. The sons of Jokshan are Sheba and Dedan. Their names represent groups of people who lived in the land of Israel and across the Arabian Peninsula. Keturah is also called Abraham's concubine in the Book of Chronicles, and that same passage lists her sons. The Bible even uses the plural word concubines when describing Abraham's gifts, pointing to more than one, which includes Hagar and Keturah. Who was Keturah? The Bible is quiet about her background. It gives details about Sarah, who is connected to Abraham's family, and about Hagar, who is Egyptian. But Keturah's origin is not spelled out. Some commentators argue whether Keturah is actually Hagar or a different woman. The text says both Hagar and Keturah were concubines, which keeps the mystery alive. One more detail emerges from the larger family picture. The sons of Keturah were involved in trade, moving goods like spices and gold across borders. Why did Abraham marry again after Sarah? One interpretation springs from the timeline that Genesis gives. After the binding of Isaac, Abraham makes sure his son has a wife. Isaac marries Rebekah. Time passes, and Rebekah does not have children for years. 20 years go by. Abraham understands the danger of barrenness and the risk that his family line might not continue, so he acts. He marries Keturah as a kind of backup, and he has many children with her during those years of waiting. If Rebekah and Isaac have children, the line continues through Isaac. If not, then the many children of Keturah stand ready. Pay attention to the moment when Abraham distributes his property. Genesis says Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. According to the story, this happens after Keturah's children are born and after Rebekah finally gives birth to Esau and Jacob. Abraham holds on to everything during the years of uncertainty. Then, once Isaac's line is secure, he gives it all to Isaac and sends Keturah's sons away with gifts. But there is another layer. Why would Abraham even question the promise that his seed would be called through Isaac? Earlier in the story, when Hagar and Ishmael were sent away, God promises that the covenant will go through Isaac. Then comes the dramatic scene where Isaac is nearly sacrificed. After that event, the promise that follows is broad and powerful. I will bless you. Your descendants will be as numerous as the stars and the sand. It does not repeat Isaac by name there. Some read this as a sign that Abraham could not be sure how the promise would unfold, so he prepared for both paths. There is a second interpretation tied to a prophecy about Ishmael. An angel tells Hagar that Ishmael will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He will live in the presence of all his brothers. Later, God promises Ishmael will become a great nation and the father of 12 rulers. Ishmael lives in the desert, becomes an archer, and marries an Egyptian woman. This paints a picture of a free, tribal desert life. According to this view, Abraham wanted more sons with that Ishmael-like spirit of independence. He loved all his sons. He did not formally bless Isaac as a successor the way Isaac blesses Jacob or Jacob blesses his sons. Instead, many of Abraham's descendants, except Isaac, choose the path of the wilderness. That is why Genesis records Abraham sending the sons of Keturah to the east. They join up with their brother Ishmael. Midian, one of Keturah's sons, becomes central in later stories connected to the rise of Israel. Over time, Ishmael and Midian mix, and the name Ishmaelites can include those Midianite groups. The sons of Keturah, as the Bible presents them, are unique. They are connected to Israel, they bear the mark of circumcision, and their lives intersect with Israel's story again and again. You see them in the sale of Joseph. Midianite merchants come by. Joseph is sold to the Ishmaelites who take him to Egypt. You meet them again in the days of Gideon, when the Midianites fight Israel. Gideon understands their language, which suggests a closeness in culture or tongue. In the spoils after the victory, there is a request for earrings from the Midianite plunder, a detail that ties back to a distinct desert identity and wealth carried on the move. All of this fits a larger pattern. Abraham is the father of many nations, and he lives like it. He is a wanderer. His journeys carry him from Ur of the Chaldeans to Haran, then to the land of Israel, then to Egypt and back. He moves between places like Alon Moreh, Bethel, Hebron, Gerar, and Beersheba. He pursues enemies up to Dan and Damascus. He crosses borders because he believes that is his calling. That roaming rhythm becomes the heartbeat of many of his descendants. The sons of Keturah and the sons of Ishmael embrace the desert, not houses and vineyards, not walled cities and heavy possessions. It is a chosen life of freedom. So, when Midian clashes with Israel in Gideon's time, it is not just raiding and stealing. It looks like a deep ideological challenge. In their view, Israel has settled and strayed from the path of Abraham the wanderer, while the sons of freedom carry his true legacy. They would turn the land into a place for nomads, not builders. Psalm 83 even remembers Midian alongside Sisera and Jabin at the river Kishon, a reminder of old enemies at familiar places. Yet there is a twist. When the war ends, Midian has a lot of property. The desert ideal and the pull of wealth collide, and the difference between the two ways of life becomes sharp. The story closes on a quiet note. Abraham dies at 175. Isaac and Ishmael come together to bury him. The sons of Keturah are not mentioned at the burial. Perhaps they did not hear the news in time from their distant lands. It is possible they came later, but the scriptures do not say. In the end, Abraham's choice to marry Keturah and send those sons east protects Isaac's line and preserves a vast, universal legacy across the deserts. Was this a backup plan born from uncertainty, or a bold strategy to keep Abraham's calling alive on every horizon?